What is going on, guys? Welcome to episode 22 of our Cincinnati Bengals franchise. First and foremost, Houday Nation, you are 4-1 on the season. And you know what? I hate doing that. I don't hate it. I can't say I hate it, but you know what? Everything the Bengals have done in this franchise series has happened in real life. We lost to the Panthers. Other than that, everything else has been correct. Bengals go on the road against the Falcons. They win. They come back home to take on the Dolphins, and they win a close game. Offense struggled early. Sound familiar? They came back. They played some good defense to come back and shut down Miami. So all the haters, we had about 3,000 views, man, coming into like week number 5, week 6, and then it just totally dropped off. People just didn't like what they were looking at, but still, the Bengals are doing what they're doing in real life is what they're doing here. So, hey, all I can say is, for those of you guys that stuck around, you guys could see through. You guys could see through it. I mean, all those games are being played a month in advance, so I appreciate you coming back and sticking around. But okay, so last episode, you guys saw that our available funds were at like 2.1, right? Which didn't really give us much to work with in free agent period number 1, right? So guys that we were looking at, like Golden Tate, who else was it? Ryan Shazier. It just wasn't going to happen, guys. We had $2 million in bonus money. They were asking for like $10 million in bonus money. So it just wasn't going to happen. So I ended up simulating past free agent period number 1, went to free agency period number 2, and offered Derek Johnson a contract. And yeah, he's old. But Preston Brown, that definitely wasn't going to happen. It wasn't going to happen, guys. He was asking for $4 million in bonus money. And, and now that we're looking at week number 2, he's not available anymore. He got picked up. And we're going to see where people ended up getting taken. But basically the thought process was, when I look at Derek Johnson and I look at Vontaze Burfict, it seems like, who would you really want to be manning the middle linebacker position? Right? I would probably want Derek Johnson manning the middle linebacker position. Vontaze Burfict is not a field general, right? He's more of an instinctual type of player, right? So as a run stopper, we definitely get more out of him in that role. Derek Johnson is a wily veteran, so I like having him there at middle linebacker. Left outside linebacker, we might need to look at some things here in the free agents list and see what we can do to upgrade that. But Hardy Nickerson just wasn't ready, and Malik Jefferson, for whatever reason, they say he's a 66. I think that's because that's where he's at. Yeah, so that's what he is as a middle linebacker. So he wasn't going to cut it either as a middle linebacker. You could start him over Nickerson, right? But is the one-year pro ready to handle middle linebacker type of duties? And I just don't think that he was. 70 type of player at right outside linebacker, maybe at left outside linebacker, he's only down by 1. And if we look at Jefferson here compared to Vigil, he's definitely more of a more skilled athlete. I mean, look at the tackling, the speed, the acceleration, pursuit. Zone coverage, though, and compared to man coverage, 60 and 54. Got to keep those numbers in mind here, 60 and 54. And then when we look at Vigil, 62 zone and 50 man coverage. So again, Malik Jefferson is the more skilled athlete. So I feel like we wouldn't be in such of a bad position if we stuck Malik Jefferson at left outside linebacker over Nick Vigil and kind of maybe split some time between those two guys, because I feel like we need to get Malik more playing time for sure. I mean, we could address this in free agency and get another guy in here, but again, the more that Jefferson sees the field, the more that his XP is going to go up, the more his overall is going to go up, and I feel like that's only going to betterment this team as we move forward. Middle linebacker, again, might have to be a position that we focus on next season. Maybe we draft somebody in the free agency, or not free agency, in the draft pool this season, and maybe they can take the next step. Maybe Malik plays really well at left outside linebacker, and maybe he can kind of take the next step and be our middle linebacker of the future. we'll just have to see. But okay, so we'll go under signed free agents and see who signed. Where did Preston Brown go? Where did Tyler Eifert go? We'll also look at some scouting, some college players as well, and then get into free agent period number 2. Looking here at the funds now, since this always goes up after every week. Now we're at 6.2 million. We were at 2 million. You know, I mean, and if we hadn't signed Derek Johnson, he was only asking for $1 million for signing bonus. We would be up at about 7. So let's take a look here and see where everybody went, because that is pretty interesting and intriguing to me. So, guy like Ronald Darby, again, we're just not going to be able to afford him. He's asking for 11.8. Tevin Coleman, same thing, 14.1. Detroit Lions are making a big push for him. Terrell Suggs, ooh, he could be our left outside linebacker, right? But again, I mean, you could go this route, but again, I feel like this is that move is only, it's going to help us for this season, but it's going to set Malik Jefferson back yet again another year. So actually, let's go ahead and go into league signings and look where everybody went here. Brandon Graham went to the Washington Redskins. Tyler Eifert's going to the Jets. Jay Ajayi going to the Raiders. So, I mean, the Raiders had that tough playoff loss against us, and now they're like, all right, we got to get better. We got to get a little bit better here. Ryan Shazier going to the Denver Broncos. Golden Tate, why are you going to the Bills? Interesting. Grady Jarrett to the Rams. Trevor Williams, Bears. Darrell Williams going to the Redskins. Ken Crawley going to the Redskins. So the Redskins are making some big moves here in the NFC East with some of these signings here. Clay Matthews going to the Cardinals. Dante Fowler Jr. Jets. Jordan Hicks. We got Tyrod Taylor going to the Dolphins. Let's see. Corey Moore. Brian Poole. So again, the Redskins are going crazy right now. Deion Jordan going to the Cardinals. Anunwa re-signs with the Jets. Preston Brown goes to the Raiders. No! What are you doing, man? Okay, so we're kind of losing out here to the freaking Oakland Raiders. John Brown reunited with the Cardinals. Navarro Bowman gets picked up by the Redskins. Kendall Wright. Ooh, interesting. Interesting. That might be really good for the Packers. And Aaron Rodgers, Deion Buchanan, Chris Conley. Wow, so the Bills are making some noise. Ricky Seals-Jones, they do need a tight end out there. Chester Rogers. Let's see, some other players here. DJ Fluker going to the Jets. Nick Easton. Like, you guys wanted Nick Easton, but again, that just wasn't going to happen in week number 1. Luke Jocko going to the Redskins as well. Corey Littleton gets picked up by the Bills. Derek Newton. Yeah, so the big-time free agent winners here are the Cardinals and the Bills, it seems like. A lot of... And the Jets, too. And the Redskins. Jets, Redskins, Bills, and Cardinals. There seem to be the 2 teams that are really killing it here in free agency. But, all right, so I think that's pretty good here. I just want you guys to see some of my negotiations going on here, kind of my thought process before we get into scouting some players, and who we might want to consider signing after these 2 guys do. So when we look at Caleb Johnson here, we're up to about 106 points over the Bills. So they really want Caleb Johnson. And Austin Reeder, just going to be a backup type of center. And the reason why I'm going after Caleb Johnson here is because our right guard needs some work. And if we look at Caleb Johnson's numbers, these are pretty solid. These are a lot better than Trey Hopkins were. And Hopkins is a 70 overall type of player. He's a little bit, I mean, he's like 1 year older than Caleb Johnson. And look at the strength, 86. Look at the run block, 78, 88, 79 finesse. Like, the pass block is going to hurt us a little bit, but I feel like with Solder on that right side, I feel like that's going to kind of supplement Caleb Johnson a little bit, his weaknesses there. But when we look at those numbers, just keep those numbers in mind. 86, 78, 88, right? High 70s, high 80s. And then when we look at Trey Hopkins, I want you guys to see Trey Hopkins here. This is what we had to deal with at right guard, as well as Luke Jocko. So we'll look at Luke Jocko as well. 87, low 70s across the board. So I feel like that's an immediate upgrade. Now let's look and see at left guard Luke Jocko's numbers, if we can, and we can't. So I just want you guys to see this because I think that this is important. All right, so here we are at Luke Jocko. Let's just take a look at his numbers. 87 and low 70s, right? So automatically, this will be an upgrade to right guard. And seeing as how we got Bobby Hart here, if we look at his numbers too, out of Florida State, not very good. Bobby Hart cannot be our starter. No matter what happens, Bobby Hart cannot be our starter. So from that right guard perspective, I think that we're doing pretty dang good if we can sign him. I think we'll be all right. Caleb Johnson, come on over, man. You can do it. You can do it. But let's look at John Miller just for shits and giggles here. Look at that. I still feel like he's better. Jamon Brown. Jamon Brown would not be too bad himself. He's actually pretty good. But 255 bonus. Jacksonville asking for him. 72. He wouldn't be too bad himself, but I feel like, let's just see where we're at here if we decided to offer him that. Would we become in first place? No, we'd be at 90. So he's asking for 255, which is exactly what we're giving Caleb Johnson. We'd probably have to be in like the $3 million range to get Jamon Brown. So I feel like we're doing okay. All right, so let's now just take a look at some corners, possibly see if we can like sign another guy here under the 6.2. I think that even a guy like Morris Claiborne would be pretty solid. I mean, look at the drop off here. We got William Jackson at 86. We got Denard at 80. You know, getting another guy in here at corner would not be a bad thing. Now, in my Texans franchise, PJ Williams and Brandon Carr were perfect. They were perfect players for what we were trying to accomplish. We need a couple guys that can come on in here and contribute to the run game. You know, and Brandon Carr can do that. He was actually a run support type of player in Madden 18, but look at the numbers here. 78 zone, 76 man, acceleration. He's still got that quickness, that 85 press. He'd be a nice little dime type of corner, right? I feel like Brandon Carr could be that player. He's not even asking for a whole lot of money, right? Jonathan Jones, 25 years old. He's a veteran, 33 for Brandon Carr. PJ Williams, 26. Yeah, I mean, Buster Screen, 77. Yeah, I feel like even Vontae Davis, good God. We don't want him to quit, right? We do not want him to quit on us like that. Yeah, so let's go after, there's Deshaun Shedd. Let's go after Brandon Carr. Get another corner in there. Grand Valley State. Michigan. Let's go after Brandon Carr. Once we can kind of nab Brandon Carr here, I think that that's going to push us on defense in more of a positive note, right? We got that 69% scheme fit. Like, look at this. Kirkpatrick. We'd have William Jackson, Kirkpatrick, Denard, and Brandon Carr. I think that that's pretty solid. That definitely helps us out a lot, especially with Jesse Bates. Like, we just gotta make sure that he's ready, right? And we don't want to put too much pressure on him. So adding a guy like Brandon Carr in zone is only going to help everybody else in that secondary. So let's go ahead and simulate past stage number 2. All right, guys, so taking a look here, we did get Brandon Carr, we got Caleb Johnson, we got Reeder. I think that this is going to be a pretty solid offensive line. I mean, yet again, we probably need to draft a left tackle or a right tackle, possibly even a left guard. We need to draft somebody, right? We need to get younger in this position for sure, with Billy Price being our youngest guy on this line. But when we also look at the defense, so we got Denard, Jackson, Kirkpatrick, Brandon Carr, Dunlap, Hankins, Atkins, Loss. I mean, this defense is going to carry the team yet again. We have more of a scheme fit going on here with the offense at 87%, but, you know, with 69% scheme fit for the defense, we need to still probably bring some guys in that fit the scheme in that 4-3, but I feel like, again, we're going to be pretty solid in that regard. So, I think we're good. I think we're good for the offseason moves here in free agency. I mean, there's still some guys available at, you know, like Mike Wallace at wide receiver. Terrell Suggs is still in there. Amir Abdullah, even though we can't afford him. You know, there's still some pretty solid players that we could nab here to either help our backfield like TJ Yeldon. But, you know, Giovanni Bernard's not too old. He's 27. I mean, we don't really need to really look at a linebacker. Quarterback, you know, Mike Glennon, Deshaun Kaiser. Maybe we consider Deshaun Kaiser as our backup behind Andy Dalton. That wouldn't be, I mean, that'd kind of have an interesting storyline, wouldn't it? Andy Dalton gets backed up by Kaiser. Maybe we can groom Deshaun Kaiser into being the next up-and-coming guy, right? Might need to consider that. Might need to consider that. Never mind. He's terrible. Okay, so taking a look more at some quarterbacks here. There's just nothing really going on. Bryce Petty there at a 68. You know, I feel like these guys are going to be available. You know, why sign them now? They're going to be available. Halfback, yet again, you know, there's guys in here like J.D. McKissick. He's more of a catching type of back. Jalen Richard would be pretty cool to nab. He's a nice little receiving type of guy. He can definitely return some kicks as well. He is very fast, so I do like that part of Jalen Richard's game. He's 90 speed, 90 excel. We can afford him. Corey Grant's in there. Rex Burkhead, we could probably bring him back. Terrence West, Shane Vereen. I mean, all these guys are pretty darn good. Thomas Rawls, actually. A Cincinnati Bengal right now. Peyton Barber, CJ Procise at a 71. Akeem Hunt, Christine Michael. There's some pretty cool running backs back there, but I don't feel like we need to do anything right with that. Wide receiver, we could try to get better, but again, Ryan Grant's the best guy available. Mike Wallace, you know, they would be rated more highly than John Ross, but again, when we have Green, Ross, Boyd, Malone, and Cody Core, you know, as wide receiver really needed at that point. I mean, we could sign Mike Wallace and still be under our signing bonus issue, right, at 7.4. We could do it, right? I mean, he's another deep threat. He's a 6-foot height. You know, he can go up and get it. Wouldn't be too bad of a player. 85 catching. Deep routes, an 84. Can stretch the field a little bit. Something that I don't think John Ross or Tyler Boyd has been able to do. Yeah, I feel like we need to do this. I mean, we could... Is wide receiver really that much of a need for this year's draft? It's a question we have to ask ourselves. Doesn't have any bids on him right now, so we might be able to wait a little bit. So let's wait, actually. Let's wait. So I'm going to go ahead and scout some more players here, and then go ahead and see what happened in the other part of free agency. Now, if we look at wide receivers here, the unscouted versions here, there's not a whole lot of things going on, right? And it's not even updating right now. Like, we don't even know how these players are looking. Now we do. Little glitch. Let me back out real quick. There we go. Okay. So we're back. Okay. So Justin Herbert, Stanley Morgan, David Sills. You know, are these guys going to be a little bit better than Mike Wallace? I don't think so. We'll have to see. All right, guys, so that's actually it for free agent period. So I'm not able to see where the heck everybody else went unless I scroll through this transaction list, and quite frankly I just want to get this video uploaded to you guys. So let's go over the college players here before we get into the NFL draft on Thursday. So going through some positions again, do we need to focus on quarterback at some point later on in the draft? A lot of you guys were talking about Dungy, Kelly Bryant, Brett Ripien, Jake Browning, Trace McSorley, Shea Patterson, like Tyree Jackson. There's some guys that are later, being able to be drafted later. Tyree Jackson fits our profile. So do we need to focus on? Do we need to focus on that? Running back. Do we need to focus on a younger running back? I know people are really liking Joe Mixon, but is running back something that we need to go after? Justice Hill, Damian Harris is pretty darn good himself. You know, I don't think that we're going to be taking a high pick running back like David Montgomery. Maybe we need to look after like Myles Gaskin down there in round number 4. Devin Singletary is pretty good himself to be an elusive back. Just take a look at his combine, right? He's got single digits as an athlete, right? That's pretty darn good, man. Ball carrier vision, B. Carrying is a B. Elusiveness, B. A little bit better than Gaskin. I think that he might be a pretty solid player as a pro. Wide receivers, we didn't really focus on wide receiver in free agency. Do we need to try to look at another guy, maybe like Marquise Brown, 5'11"? I mean, he's kind of like a John Ross, you know, or do we need to go after somebody a little bit taller? Colin Johnson, or let's see, where's or Amon Richards, 6'1". Do we need to focus on a guy like that? You know, look at those numbers, 4'4". He just ran a 4'4". If you can get that kind of player in the second round, that's kind of like a Mike Wallace, right? Juwan Johnson ran a 4'5", so he's a little bit slower. Marquise Brown, JJ, 4'5". The Amon Richards kid, 4'4", guys. That's pretty solid. Fits our scheme. Anthony Johnson ran a 4'5", so a little bit slower. So maybe we need to focus on that. Tight end. Again, with not re-signing Tyler Eifert, tight end might be a little bit of an issue for us. Left tackle, definitely need to consider this, especially because Cordy Glenn is not getting any younger. Left guard, we got Clint Bowling at 30 years old, so we definitely need to consider a left guard at some point. Center, don't really need to focus on a center unless we can move Billy Price over to guard, because he did play guard at Ohio State. Right guard, we kind of fixed that up a little bit with Caleb Johnson, but again, you know, second rounder like Michael Dieter or Dalton Risner at right tackle, we can probably move him over to guard, because I think he can also switch a little bit. But again, right tackle with, you know, Nate Solder, probably don't need to focus on this because there isn't a whole lot available there in the first place. Left end, don't even need to look at it. Right end, don't need to look at it either. I don't feel like Nick Bosa is going to be available. But our defensive line this season is stacked. We also have Sam Hubbard at that defensive line. On defensive end, we got Carl Lawson, who's very young, so defensive line just doesn't really interest me this season at all. Maybe we need to look at a defensive tackle a little bit later, like third or sixth round talent right there. Left outside linebacker, not a whole lot here. Middle linebacker, there's a lot here though. There's a lot here, so maybe we need to focus on that a little bit. Devin Bush, if he's available, guys, I might need to consider taking him. We do need to start thinking about the future of that middle linebacker position, and being a middle linebacker at Michigan and that nasty defense, I think that Devin Bush is a very solid pick. Right outside linebacker, again, don't need to focus too much on that with Burfict signed for X amount of years. And then with Malik Jefferson, you know, very solid as well. Corner, we can get a little bit younger there, but again, because we did get Brandon Carr, we might need to think about a guy that might need to replace him to be our number 4 corner. Free safety, really the only 2 guys I'm interested in are like the freak athletes like Marvell Tell or Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Really the only guys I'm looking at for free safety. If there's a guy in here that you really like, I can look at some film on him and maybe we can go grab him. But the one strong safety I'm looking at to possibly replace Sean Williams in the future is Jaquan Johnson. I feel like this guy is one of the best defensive players in all of the draft. I mean, look at the freak athlete numbers right there, 7.6. Like, look at that, man. 4.5 threes first, the broad jump, the 3-cone. I mean, this guy's a pure athlete. So we need to also consider taking Jaquan. So that's going to be it, guys, for this episode. I hope you left a like and you like this thing. If you haven't, make sure you do that. And that's going to be it for this episode. So I hope you liked it, like I said. And I'll see you guys on Thursday for the actual NFL draft, the 2019 version of the NFL draft. Let me know in the comment section who you guys want me to consider, and then we'll go over that. And I'll even go over the free agency recap in that video as well. So, guys, I'll catch you later. Happy Sunday. As always, hoo-day, and peace.